The sprinkler.
So how about we dive into it?
Okay, let's.
Sue,
Eric,
how are you?
I'm just fine. I'm so happy to be talking to you this evening.
Same here. I mean, I haven't seen you.
I am where I'm living. Here we are in April, famous for showers, but we have snow.
How's confinement treating you?
I've been confined for quite some time. I've been working from home since the 90s. I was one of those early teleworkers. My whole department in the 90s, one of the large banks, we all worked from home.
Okay.
Mostly, yeah. And so it was all very experimental. We didn't even have the internet yet.
Oh.
And it's another whole story for another button.
Yes, yeah. Life before the internet.
So I've been doing all this for a long, long time. So I'm used to being alone. What I'm not used to is not being able to, go outside or, put large garbage out or, all the things that we just take for granted, like weird garbage. Like our house, we're inside, so we're decluttering.
Or go to SAQ, LCBO. That's my biggest.
Value Village is not open.
Well, the SAQ is still open here in Quebec.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's alcohol. I'm trying to get rid of stuff.
Okay.
Brown furniture. Would you like some brown furniture?
Nope. Thank you.
It used to be my grandmother's.
I'm good.
In Quebec. Anyway, we're here to talk about something else.
Yeah, talk about training and workshops.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of organizations saying, hey, come on down. Our training is now available online. I'm like, how could they have transformed their training so quickly? They're very good or they haven't done anything at all. So basically, I wanted to invite you to pick your brain and share with the community as to what should we keep in mind when we want to offer trainings and workshops online, and maintaining that same level of interaction, that same level of energy, the same level of learning, obviously, and I don't think you can do that just by doing the same thing. I might be wrong.
Are you thinking about we'll just move it to Zoom?
Just move it to Zoom, pay for membership, and that's it. That's all. And so before even diving into the actual trainings, I watched a webinar this afternoon about retrospectives. In this context right now. And so one guest asked a really nice question, and it was really, what has changed since COVID-19, and what has remained the same?
Yeah.
What do you think?
When I think about that, I kind of go like, a whole bunch of things have changed. Everything has changed, but everything stays the same. I mean, the important things about training are not going to change because we're trying to do this just over distance. I see, us using tools, and I see us interacting differently.
Mm-hmm.
But the core of it is that we're trying to get people to think or do something differently or know something differently than they did before. And through this intervention or event or whatever we want to call
crisis or pandemic.
The core of training, the core of learning is about trying to get people to open their minds to a new way of working, or to try to get them to do something differently from how they were doing it as a result of our communication activity or training course or whatever we're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want them to think or do differently as a result of this? So that has not changed. And I think that, if I think back to all of the work that we've done as trainers over the years, we've really kind of come up with a formula that's like, show them rather than tell them, have them experience and, give them an experience rather than give them a bunch of information. Otherwise, you might as well just send them an email.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I will confess that I have been on classes where it could have been an email and
the video on YouTube.
Not name names.
No, you're gonna give me too much work editing the video if you start naming names. But let's ask the real question here. Should we still be giving training and workshops online? Are we just trying to maintain a revenue stream by doing this?
Well, I don't want to fault somebody who's just trying to maintain the revenue, but I will say that I had this cynical view when I started seeing these emails coming in from colleagues and people that are, not necessarily suppliers, but I keep an eye on who's, active in the business. And it's like, oh, now we're doing this online. Ooh, join our thing. And I kind of went, there's going to be a lot of really bad application of learning in there. Are they using this as an opportunity to keep the lights on? Maybe that's okay. Mm-hmm. I had just canceled my distance program before all this hit because I was just really tired of having to be on the air every Thursday at 1:00. Mm-hmm. It was starting to be, a bit tiresome. And now that this is like a forced thing for a lot of people and my live workshops are canceled, I kind of went, oh, should I open up this one? And I have to say, I took a week to think about it.
Okay.
Am I just jumping on this bandwagon and I'm just like them? Or do people really need what I have to offer? And so I think, everybody's trying to do something good right now. Sure. And some of them are trying to keep their people working and keep the lights on and, be able to pay their mortgages. So, I'm not going to fault them for that.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is distance learning, if you haven't ever done it, this whole experience that people are going through now, I think that they will learn something about it and find new ways to reach the audiences that they need to reach. I think about, I've been training coaches since, not in my own business, but I think I started around 2004. I was working in a coaching school, and everything was by the phone and also learning guides. And I've had my own coach training business since 2014, I think, is when I started that online thing. And the value that brings is that people can come to these courses who don't have that opportunity in their community. Right. Mm-hmm. So I've had people from New Zealand where there's nobody training coaches or wasn't in those days. For a long time, I had a lot of people from India because nobody was doing that there. Yeah. I had someone from the Soviet Union. I have people who, I had guys in Singapore who would come in at 1:00 in the morning to get, a call.
Wow.
And you got to be pretty, I would say, desperate.
Yeah, or passionate about it.
but so it allows people like that to get some learning. Myself, I used to live in an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and there was no university there, and there was barely a high school. I mean, it was not a hotbed of education, and I did my university through distance learning.
Really?
At Royal Rose, which is a blended program. Some of it is in person, some of it is online, some of it is live, and some of it is on your own time. On your own, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
It's not coming to me.
Well, personal work.
Synchronous versus asynchronous. Yeah. Some of it's synchronous, some of it's asynchronous.
I understand. Yeah.
But I was able to get a master's and a whole bunch of advanced coaching programs from wherever I happen to be. Mm-hmm. I've never had to do that. And other, particularly women, are able to not have to leave their homes to get an MBA, right? They can stay with their families. And so it was a pretty interesting way to learn.
So learning online is far from being foreign to you. It's basically your preferred method of learning.
I want to say it's my preferred. I think I still prefer to be face-to-face with you and be able to, ask you questions and be with other people in the room and pair with them.
Yeah.
But it's a way that, we can get an education.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what?
Keen on it.
So what do I do? I mean,
listen, you do more than start soon, my darling.
The training that I love to give, because it's just fun and I just love saying that I play with Lego, is learning Scrum with Lego.
Yeah.
We basically we build a village and create 4 or 5 teams, and then you realize that the pieces are not the same sizes and it just doesn't work. The integration didn't work. Just the learning experiences.
Garage doesn't fit the fire truck.
Yeah, and the little man can't fit in any of the houses, and so on and so forth. But that's one thing. But the interaction between people, the fact that one person is giving a piece of Lego to someone else, and then the touch and the feel and that all, being human basically.
It's tactile.
Yeah, tactile, exactly. Ellen loves to say, we learn with our hands.
Thinking with our fingers.
Yeah. I'm referring to Ellen Grove. And so so basically, I was hoping that you can maybe share some insight as how we can recreate that energy, that the dynamics, the highs and lows, and the sweat sometimes of a in-person workshop into an online situation.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things that you just sort of have to remember sort of contextually before we start even getting, how do we teach this Scrum thing? So we need to think about good learning is active. It gets the brain stimulated.
Yeah.
You need to engage the brain in, as many ways as you can. It needs to be contextual. So we need to be able to somehow take this Lego for Scrum and bring it back to, here we are at the bank, doing whatever we're doing. And how does this relate? It needs to be visual. Of all of our senses, the visual sense is the strongest. And so if we're able to use drawings or looking at each other, then that's good. It needs to be social. We learn. I don't have the data right now, but there's a whole bunch of evidence that says that we learn from watching other people who are also learning. So if I'm watching you learn to change a tire or do something, I'm going to get technique from you, and I'm going to feel your pain when you fail. And, so there's a certain amount of that. So we have to try to figure out how we get that. It needs to be challenging enough, which is, I think, where a lot of distance learning kind of fails. And we have to be able to apply it in real life. So there has to be some way that we can test ourselves or do the thing. And so those are things to kind of keep in mind. Get people excited about the learning first. One of the things that you may do already is, you send out a pre-course survey that says, hey, what do you know already? Or, it's a little test, or it's, tell us about yourself. Why? Yeah. So this gets us sort of primed before we even show up in the course to be thinking about what it is we're learning. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that I love to ask is, what makes you think you're going to be good at this? What are the things you might have to unlearn? Mm-hmm. So that gets them already before they show up.
Yeah.
In their mind.
I see.
Sort of ready for it. So that's sort of priming the pump, right?
Okay.
We're getting them ready to learn.
So this is true when you're doing regular classes on site, but this becomes even more.
Yeah.
It becomes necessary, I find, if you're giving your classes online.
Yeah. And the part of, like, if you think about a workshop when we're all together, I'm sure yours and mine are very similar. People come early, there's stuff on the walls, there's talking, there's, hey, I'm your instructor. Where'd you come from? Did you come on the bus? Did you come on the metro? Whatever. So there needs to be a certain amount of that's, I don't know, bavard.
Yeah, just chit chat.
Yeah, chit chat.
Well, for the past few years, there's a lot of this before we start, but that's okay.
Yeah, you're doing Scrum. I'm not. I'm teaching how to sit. We may want to edit that out. I don't know.
Nah, it's all good.
But you want to find a way to get people to get to know each other first. So one of the things that I use a platform that has this set up, but you could do it on emails or you could do it on Slack. You could do it. Tell us about yourself. Why are you here? And then, each other sort of gets introduced. That will work probably really quite well on Slack once you've invited people and they've accepted, assuming they can get past their firewalls. So anyway,
let's leave all that out of the equation right now.
Yeah. Some way to get them to know each other before it all begins. And then a little bit about you too, so that they kind of are ready for you. And as much as possible, I think it's something like 95% of people who are on a distance program like to see the instructor.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to hate it. Like I used to just do only audio, because I hate looking at my face. And I'm kind of going, nobody needs to see what I look like. And yet it's part of that whole experience of, who's talking. Mm-hmm. I'm on a course right now, an art course, where we're all, we're like the Brady Bunch, all 15 of us or whatever. And there's a woman drawing, teaching us, sort of showing us techniques. And then we copy and then we show our stuff. And so that whole interactive thing is kind of like a very important part of what we're doing. And I can kind of go, oh, she puts her ears a little bit further to more realistic than I do, or, that kind of stuff. So that whole getting to know each other is probably more important online, because it isn't going to happen naturally. You'll have to figure out a way to set it up.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And then it's good for them to have a roadmap. We do that probably in live classes anyway. If we're doing it well, we give them a sort of sense of, here's the shape of the day.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do for this long. So one of the things you want to do is kind of make sure that you have it mapped out. Some of the psychology behind adult learning says we need to change things up every 20 minutes, topic-wise, and stimulate the brain every 3 minutes.
Would that be different if you're doing it online?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you have to change it up even
faster. That's the online data. So you want to create sort of maybe 20-minute modules.
Okay.
And change it up every 3 minutes or so. Give people something to do.
Yeah.
So the other day I was on Twitter or somewhere, and somebody was talking about the learning platform that she was using, and she couldn't do a 3-hour webinar. And I'm going like, please, honey, don't make anyone go to a 3-hour webinar. We're going to die, right? Like, you need breaks, and you need to have your, if you're going to teach for 3 hours, call in for an hour, give people a 10-minute break, call in again. Mm-hmm. And when I was training as a coach, I used to be on calls where I can't even remember what we called them, integrity days. And you'd get up in the morning and, we'd do some stuff, and then we'd get on the air, and then we'd talk about what we're doing, and we'd do some stuff, and then we'd get on the air, and we'd be on maybe 5 times a day doing stuff between. And it there are ways that you don't have to be sitting in your chair with your face.
Could you break apart a one-day training into like a 2-week thing?
Yeah, well, I have a 3-day course that's 3 days. That is 12 weeks when I do it online.
Okay.
And it's 12 weeks where it's blended learning. So some of it is asynchronous. They do it on their own. There's chat among themselves, answering questions. I'm in there as well. Mm-hmm. There's quizzes and stuff like that. And then 1 day a week for 1 hour, we're on Zoom.
Okay.
So there's the part where they're all interacting asynchronously, and then there's the synchronous part. Mm-hmm. And that has worked for me since 2014. So that's 6 years. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting way, because you can ask them questions that makes them put it into their own words. So that's another way of learning, right? If we get them to articulate what it is that they're processing in their own language, then it helps set the learning. Mm-hmm. Like there's all kinds, the whole adult learning theory and whatever they call it, andragogy, is a fascinating field.
Okay.
There are people who do PhDs in it, and it won't be you or me. but there's a lot of good jazz there. Like you want to use all the senses that you can. Now we can't touch, but you can get people to let them know that they're going to need to grab a pen.
So you can touch.
And or have them write. Tell them in advance they need to bring paper. You may want to have a handout for them. You probably want to have a learning guide for them. Mm-hmm. Andrew, my husband, was telling me this morning he was saw a call where they were passing the talking stick amongst a bunch of people.
Let's do it.
I put it up to here, and then you had to take it from me. So you have to take it.
All right. I got it.
Okay, get your corner. Oh, there, it's your turn now. But, and so there's a thing that's going to make people laugh. It's going to make people pay attention. It's going to let us look at each other's faces.
That could be an interesting icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, collaboration online by passing the marker around.
Yeah. So if I put it here, you have to pick it up. You have to pick it up this way.
Yeah.
Ellen Grove and I do a thing that's collaborative face drawing, which I imagine you have participated in.
Yeah,
and we just kind of get it started, and then you draw somebody else's nose on the head. You just draw somebody else's ear.
It's
right?
a fun exercise.
So there are ways that we can make that fun stuff that comes up in our live sessions. We can replicate that somehow. We can't do it exactly. So if I think about if we go back to trying to teach Scrum with Lego, right? So we have Eric's class, and Eric's welcomed everybody. And the first exercise that he does is what?
Depends.
This is your in-person class.
Oh, okay.
The first thing you do.
Usually the first thing that I do, I ask for people with a fairly good imagination. And then they learn, they kind of learn by accident that they are officially the product owners for the rest of the class. Because it's a very creative class. It's where we're building a village, and so you don't need a PhD or anything. Just imagination to create a landing pad for aliens, for instance.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun.
So
that's the way it starts. I need 4 people with pretty good imagination, and then they raise their hand and come over, and then I'm the main investor at first, and then that's how it starts.
So.
And we basically do a lift off at the beginning.
Yeah. So if you think about the exercise you're doing, why are you doing it? You're doing it to identify some people to play the role of product owner.
Exactly. Yeah.
Setting a stage for them.
Yeah.
You're giving them some context. So if you think about that, how would you do that online? Some of it easy for you. There's not much to change.
I guess not. Guess not. I don't know.
Got a lot of imagination. Unmute yourself, right? There they are, all on Zoom. Say, unmute yourself if you're willing to. If you think you've got a good imagination, and you're taking them and pulling their interest out as you describe this amazing kind of person they are. When you have your 4 or your 2 or whatever, then maybe you send them an individual chat. That's the instructions that you don't want their friends to have.
Oh, okay. You mean like a breakout room?
I mean, that could be done that way.
Yeah. Okay.
There's so then you think about what's the next activity? So look at the next activity. What is the point of it? How does it work?
Yeah.
What do they take away? How could we do that online?
So basically, the next activity, we're building a team charter. So like I mentioned, it's pretty much a lean, very short, very quick liftoff, where we try to understand the vision, the objectives, the conditions of success, the risks, the obstacles, and stuff like that. Even the definition of done that we work with.
You could have them using that sort of 1, 2, 4 all process. Have them write down the things that they think on a sticky should be in the team agreement, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting everybody in the team to write down some things that they think are important, and then share them.
Good whiskey, yes.
Come to me. I mean, we could all do that.
Yeah.
Or we could break into breakout rooms. Kind of go, you guys talk about the things that we do want. You guys talk about the things that we don't want. Or we could break you into breakout rooms and sort of like you talk about how the processes will work, and we'll get these people to come back and talk about the relationships. And then when we all reunite out of the breakout rooms, we have a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well facilitated by you.
Well is a strong word these days, but getting there.
is have them on a piece of paper, right? What I like about this, what I hate about this, or what's good about this idea, what's not good about this idea. Have them all make their list, and see where the overlap is.
Okay. So we
all
get
kinds of ways you can use it.
Yeah, I see that. Thanks for that amazing information, and we're exchanging that information. We build a team charter. And usually the first iteration, I don't even call it a sprint per se, even though it's a Scrum training. First iteration, I put no rules. I put nothing. It's basically
do what you like.
Yeah, do what you like. Build something nice, and remember the condition of success. It has to be a green village and self-sustaining, and so on and so forth. But besides that, go with it. And obviously, chaos ensues.
Mm-hmm.
And so. Let's go with that. How do I reproduce that chaos online? I love chaos.
Why are you creating the chaos? What is the point of the chaos? Think about that. There's a reason for sure.
Well, it's mainly to create contrast with the second iteration, the second sprint, where I really go gun ho, like super strict Scrum, and then we do a contrast, and then the third sprint we bring about adjustments, and they sort of like they build their own Scrum in some way, shape, or form, and they bring about adjustments. That's pretty much the 3 steps that I like to do with Scrum.
So once again, if we're looking at, we've got to create sort of a way that we can show kind of what we don't want, and how do we blend the good parts of each to give something we can work with.
Yeah.
So the reason for chaos is to show them what happens if you have no rules. So what kind of exercise could we pull together without Lego that would be something with no rules? Now, I haven't thought of anything, but let's think about something.
I don't know.
It could be you might have sent them something in advance. Game, a test, a list of things to match up. I don't know, with very poor instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really know kind of what's doing. There's a game that I'm trying to recall where we give them, it's around writing users' stories that are really detailed but I mean, there's ways that you can cause problems by giving people really bad instructions or no instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can, be super, super rigid and then have that come out. Or you could have different teams, like you could separate them into teams.
Well, yeah, they're already separated into 4 teams.
Yeah.
I try to imagine 4 breakout rooms, no rules, and what could they create? What could they build? What could they produce, build, create that will generate confusion, that will generate maybe some frustration? What could it be?
A treasure map, or, it could be anything. It could be a picture of you. It could be, there's a bridge behind you. I don't know. Is it the Jacques Cartier Bridge?
It is, yeah.
They have to draw that, or they have to create something together. There's things that like sometimes there's whiteboards in the platforms that people use for online training as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we can draw together. Moodle, for example, allows whiteboards. Somebody told me that Zoom allows whiteboards. I haven't used it, but when you're just trying to think of what else could I do that will cause chaos, right?
Well, I could have a more elaborate background, an intentional background. This is more of an accident.
Or share your screen. Share your screen.
What I'm thinking is that I don't tell them anything. There's the design behind me of something, and then the objective of sprint 1 or iteration 1 is you have to reproduce all this.
Yeah, somehow.
And they're like, wait a second, do we have time to look at it? No. Breakout rooms.
You can share your screen. But so what are the things that we have? What are the tools that we have at our fingertips? We have pens and markers. We have breakout rooms. We have screen sharing. We have pre-work. We have things we could have sent them in advance.
We have backgrounds.
Yeah. We have backgrounds. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of things. I mean, so we don't have Lego.
We don't have,
no. What we got? Yeah. What else have we got that we could ask them to use? And really what it is, what are we trying to get them to do? What are we trying to create through this exercise? What do we want them to learn? How do we make them have that chaos or that order or that whatever? And then how do we debrief it so that they learn what it is they learn? And the best way to do that is have them describe what the experience was like, right? My favorite line as a facilitator is, what was that like for you?
or as a coach, what was missing?
Yeah. What would you like more of? Where did you feel strong? Where were you confused? Right? So there's all of those things that we can do. So it can be really a lot more fun than we imagine. And yeah, it's way better with Lego. And yeah, it's better when we're all together. And I love it when the big village comes together and it doesn't work. I mean, that's fabulous.
Fabulous. Right now, I'm trying to think Lego Serious Play online without Lego. Now there's a challenge for you.
Yeah. I don't think we'd be teaching that. Well, who knows? Lego may have virtual Lego by now.
They could, yeah. Oh, if they have that, that would be amazing. But hey.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, so I guess like the Lego is the hardest, probably the hardest example for taking things online because it really requires us to be physically present with the bricks.
So my takeaway up to this point is, within every part of your training, be clear as what your intention is. What you're doing is irrelevant. Think of your intention and try to reproduce that intention. If my intention is to create chaos, I need to think of new ways to create chaos. It won't be Lego. It might be. I guess that's food for thought at this point. Right now, I'm really stuck on the background thing. I'm trying to build on that. Should the cam be more back and me using a whiteboard?
Could be. Yeah. Or there's whiteboards that you can sometimes use. Like you could do a screen share. Right now, I could share my screen. Well, maybe not. You could share a screen. I could share my screen. See, you can see. And so I could have, there's a whiteboard. There it is. We can draw on it.
Yeah.
Look at that. Can you see that?
I can see it, yeah.
So there you go. I'm not quite sure I'll get away from this. I guess I stop share. I'm not sure I know how to do that.
Let me see.
Yeah. I think I just muted my... Okay. So there's all kinds of things that you can do.
There you go. I stopped it for you.
Yeah. The other trick is you can kind of go ask yourself some questions about absolutely every activity. And when you do this with your transforming something to online, you'll also be looking at your in-person courses and go, wow, do I even need that exercise? Or how could I make that exercise better? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people in the Agile community get, I don't want to say fooled, that's probably not the right word, but we get kind of in love with the games and the fun and the friskiness of some of the things that we try. Yeah. And we miss the point, which is, why did we do all this? Well, we did it to teach a lesson. So what was that lesson? Mm. So if we take 10 minutes to do an exercise, we should take at least 10 minutes to debrief it.
Yeah.
What was that for you? What did you learn? Was it just a waste of time? What did you take away? Why would I make you do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And so we really, need to take a good hard look at absolutely every activity that we've got in our class and figure out how to make that work. Mm-hmm. So I think about mine, I was trying to see the difference between coaching people in person, teaching people to coach in person, and teaching people to coach online. So I break them into groups of 3 and have coach, client, observer, mm-hmm. just like I do in my live classes, right? So that they, take turns coaching each other for however many minutes, and then they change roles. Mm-hmm. I send them a message that, goes, hey, got a minute left. Yeah. Change your leader now. And then we come back. Well, what did you learn? What did you hear? Let's hear first from the observers. So it's a case of how do we focus their learning? How do we make them think? Or
Any
how do we
thoughts on
give them
that?
an experience that's sort of like what we're trying to get them to do?
And any clues on that? How to focus their learning?
Well, you've got to keep them. You got to keep them awake. So that's where this change. Give them something to do every 3 minutes, or change something about what's going on every 3 minutes, and have the modules be sort of compacted. Let them have. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can let them chat. A lot of in the old days, it was when you're online. Don't let them have chat. Well, let them have chat. Otherwise, they're going to be checking their email, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they can,
Multitasking.
Yeah.
and maybe what you want to do sometimes, especially if it's new for you, is have somebody else help you. Have someone else monitoring the chat, and it could be one of your learners. Hey, or could you keep an eye on the chat for me because I'm too busy. Some platforms. I think about there's a wonderful learning platform that Adobe makes, Adobe Connect, and I have never used anything that I loved as much.
Okay.
But it's super expensive, and you kind of need a helper, right?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of moving parts. There's slides, and there's quizzes, and there's polls, and there's all these things. And polls can be fun. We can do polls in Zoom. We can do things like that even in Zoom. But you kind of need to be paying attention, or have somebody else that's kind of paying attention.
So having a helper, well, there you go, can help. There you go. Well, I was supposed to facilitate a self-selection last week. It didn't happen. Finally, it might happen in the future, but it didn't happen this time. And it would have been the first time I do a self-selection online.
Yeah.
And we were.
It's like a team self-selecting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So a lot of testing various tools and techniques and whatnot. And one of the conclusions was, like you just said, have a helper. You need a facilitator, and you need somebody that knows the tool well, because we are dependent on the tools. And we have to admit it. The tools we use when we're in person is a room and people.
And our energy. Yeah.
And energy.
Yeah.
And that's all you need, really.
I think Eric, you said something really important there, is we really have to understand the tools. So I look at the tool that I use. I use a tool that's called Rizuku. And I've been using it forever. It may or may not be the best. So I don't know. It's the one I know. And one of the things that I do, there's a video that's put out by Abe, the fellow who developed it, that tells you how to use it. And then there's one, for me that says, you will find these things in these places. And so, I open that up. Say it's a 12-week course. I open that up a week before we start and invite people to go in, poke around, have a look, see what's there. And then it drip feeds week by week. But the piece around how to use the platform is really important, because I did some work at a university. I was a learner, and they were using a tool called Moodle, and we were on 1 hour calls every week. And the first 20 minutes of the call were people trying to figure out how to use the software. Yeah. So it was like, do I have to?
I participated in a activity organized by Agent Montreal, and poor guy. There was like 60 people on Mural.
Yeah,
about 60 people going around on the screen like this. Okay.
So if you don't know how it works, then you're just confused and depressed by it.
Yeah, it was quite chaotic. It was quite chaotic. So we need to practice whatever tool you're using, and if possible, if you have that luxury, have a helper with you. So somebody leading the learning and somebody leading.
And I think that in these days, when we're sort of isolating, we have maybe a little bit less to do because we don't have to go out for lunch and all those things. Maybe you and I partner, and it's your class, and I'm there watching your chat or moving your slides or whatever it is, and then it's my turn to run, and then you help me. Or maybe we could need more sort of inter-coach collaboration.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's a curveball for you.
Okay.
I need to facilitate a value stream mapping activity.
I could watch you.
By the way, I love my clients. My clients are like, No, we'll just continue. I tell them, my toolbox that I sold you, it's in the garbage. I need all. So are you sure you want to do a self-selection? Yeah. That didn't happen, but yeah, we want to do one. Okay, well, I'll learn new stuff. And now this other client's like, yes, we want to do. You proposed a value stream mapping 2 months ago. Yeah, but that was 2 months ago.
There's a tool that will allow you to do stickies that you can move around on that whiteboard.
Yeah. Again, my worry is the same one as the Scrum Lego training. Is when I do value stream mapping, I guess it with a very strong agile mindset, and it's very collaborative. It's like arguing as that. No, that didn't happen. Yes, it did happen, and they move around things, and it's that interaction that generates the value stream in the end. And then there's this activity of putting the various obstacles and risks that were identified before we did the actual mapping. Then we put explosions everywhere, and then we look at the 7 wastes defined either by lean manufacturing or Mary Poppendieck, and then we put those everywhere, and then it's like a whole wall of stuff there, and then we create a future value stream. If we got rid of all these obstacles and all these wastes, what could it look like? And then we show off again the gap between the two, and we build a backlog of improvements. And now I'm asked to do this online, and I'm working on it right now. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that?
Just hold on. I'm trying to pull something up here.
Okay.
Yeah, we can move stickies around, Bubba. So you have a team captain and say, no, I want this one on the left. And you go, oh, this one is like subordinate to this one. Please move lack of planning underneath praise. So you can still be doing. That's PowerPoint. That's just crappy old PowerPoint.
Yeah, you lose the collaborative aspect with that. You can't have two people playing around with that.
But there are tools there are tools like I think Mural is one of them, right?
Yeah, and I'm getting to know that one slowly. Yeah,
would allow everyone to participate. Mm-hmm. I need to. Could you make me stop sharing?
Let me see. Start participant sharing.
Yeah, we're back to normal. Yeah, so there's it's about, we Google how do we get shared stickies moving. There's lots of tools like that. I'm pretty sure Mural is one. I've used one and I can't remember what it was called, but it was just I wasn't my event. I was just there. Yeah.
One of my strategies is we mentioned earlier tonight is to break it up in multiple days. I can't do a whole day. I cannot. Well, right now I said that's what I'm doing right now. I'm coaching online, so I'm all day in front of a screen. I won't complain because I'm lucky to be able to do this. Continue doing.
But it's not the same old people on the call all day long, right?
No, it's different sessions. I might be there for maybe a retrospective or just a one-on-one coaching and so on and so forth. But that said, I don't think I'd be able to do a one activity value stream mapping from 9 to 5 p.m. Yeah.
Your team would hate you.
Well, I probably hate myself after.
No, but it would be really dire.
I'd probably dive into this after.
Yeah, Makazi.
So the plan is to basically, because the value stream mapping, there's also a training part to it. They need to know the language. You need to know what is the value stream mapping, so for them to be autonomous to be to go forward.
So you can build a setup for that. You could build a 1-hour module for that. How do we train it? What are the things we need to know? Why would we need to know them? What are some things we don't want to know? What are some ideas we have in our heads that could be wrong? Yeah. How would we convey that to a bunch of people? Yeah. Again, using our crazy imaginations that we have, and we have more now, I think, because we're not being cluttered with the stuff we used to do. Mm-hmm. We have some new ways of pulling that out of our brains, I hope.
So there's a lot of advantages for training in person, obviously. But what are some of the advantages besides the ones that you mentioned, that you might be living in an isolated island in the middle of the Atlantic? You were saying, I need to know more about that later.
Bermuda, it wasn't completely isolated.
Oh, Bermuda! Oh, geez.
It was a long 10 years, though. I'll tell you.
What could be the other advantages? Just maybe uplift the spirit of some people like myself to say, no, you know what? Yes, it's online training, but there's tons of cool stuff happening with online training. What?
Like right now, I usually have voice lessons with a lovely teacher, singer called Mary Catherine Pisano. And we can't do that because we can't go to the studio. And what happens now is we're on Zoom. Okay. And she sends me music because she can't play for me because there's a 1 second lag, right? Or there's a lag between the music and the voice.
Yeah.
So she sends me music of her playing, and then we sing it together, sort of. Anyway, and that is super fun. And it's not as good training as I'm getting when I'm in the room with her. But the experience is still there, and the connection is still there, and it's still super fun. It's allowing her to continue to work. It's allowing me to continue to work with my voice. And there's another one. I'm taking harp lessons totally through video. And there's this little Irish girl, and she tells me where to put my fingers, and I can stop her when I need to. So these things are, and then if I want, I can connect to her with email and go, I'm having trouble with my left hand, right? And that one is a super cheap way to do stuff because it's pretty much all video. This art class that I was taking, we are a little bit on Ning, which is sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like Facebook, I guess. And yet we're once a week on Zoom. So we're able to stay connected to learning and to fun. A group that I belong to, business communicators, they've been teaching each other how to cook on Zoom. And sharing recipes and doing it together. And so these things are keeping us, like you say, a little bit entertained and a little bit connected in this creepy time.
Well, the one thing that I've noticed that the big advantage of online, whatever it might be, is the record button.
Yeah.
You don't have that. One person I'm coaching, she asked me, she said, "Yeah, are you okay if I record this session?" I was like, "Go right ahead, not a problem."
Yeah.
If I say something stupid, at least you'll have a reason to. Yeah, you'll have proof to fire me. But
it's so important because I usually make my clients take notes in their coaching, right? Now they don't really have to if they don't want to. And
so I find that is a huge benefit that maybe we should try to find a way to keep that going once we get back to the real world or the in-person world. What else could this is more of an opinion piece that I'm asking you, and by looking at your Twitter account, you don't have problems with opinions.
I have certain ones.
What do you think we'll bring back from this experience?
Well, one of the things I think is it'll make us look at our training in terms of every activity. What is the point?
Yeah.
So that will make our training improve, I think.
That's my big takeaway right there.
That's huge.
Yeah.
The other one is the other thing is it recognizes the if we do a mix of synchronous and asynchronous, all together and then a little bit separated, I can work at the time that I want to work. If I want to cram like crazy the day before the class, I can do that. Or if I want to work steadily every night for 20 minutes, or I want to, put the kids to bed and then work, I can choose when I'm going to be learning.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have your 3-day course or 2-day course, we have to be there in the city when you want to be there and when the room is available, right? Yeah. So this way it allows a freedom of learning when and how we want. There's something I took and I can't even remember. It was like, want to learn more was at the bottom. And then there were like 5 links that we could go in more. Would never be on the exam, but it was just, if you're a pig for learning, here's some more about this stuff, right? So it allows us to dig deeper.
So I'm thinking hybrid right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's kind of what this is. I think about my university education, and the university is based in Victoria, British Columbia, on the island. And it's a small university, and they are able to secure instructors from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
for these people. They don't have to move to Victoria, so they can be in Toronto or London or New York or Australia or living in Bobcaygeon. So it allows access to people that we would never be able to talk to. I've taken courses, online courses with, what's his name? Goldbraith. He's the most famous coach. What's that guy's name? Marshall Goldsmith.
Oh man, that writer's tears is really kicking in.
No, Marshall Goldsmith, like he gives them away, and there's all kinds of people who are doing these things, for cheap or free. And
yeah, my daughter's doing that right now. She's taking master class in movie production.
Perfect.
It's all online. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's some real advantages to it. I don't think it'll replace person-to-person learning at all. I still think that we gain from being in a room with other people. I mean, the people who study emotional intelligence talk about, something like our limbic symmetry or something, but just the very fact that we're in a room together changes the way we are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important, and being together and being able to collaborate and being able to use Lego.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are beautiful closing words. So folks who would like to know more, how can they reach you?
How can they reach me?
Yeah. I mean, besides Twitter.
Get my opinions. No, I have a business called It's Understood Communication, and it's very...
Your sticker is right there, by the way. Look.
I don't see it.
On my board, right there.
On your board? Oh, my.
Yeah. It's got a little
It's called It's Understood Communication. And it's at It's Understood, all one word, .com. And you can find more about me there. And
I assume you're on LinkedIn.
I'm everywhere. I'm just everywhere. I'm even now on
TikTok.
No, I haven't gone there yet, but I just started Instagram, and I have a guy helping me who's like a millennial.
Yeah.
And I really don't understand it. There's only 5 words there.
There's not much to understand. You put a picture, you put hashtags, and that's it. That's all.
That's kind of it. Like, why am I paying you? Anyway.
I was so happy today. Esther Derby started following Agile Partnership on Instagram. So I've been bragging about it all day.
Oh, yeah. There's some amazing things that happen. Like Tom Peters liked something that I tweeted. He retweeted something of mine. I'm like, oh, my God. Tom Peters was like the guy when I was younger. He's just another old man now, but he was the guru's guru.
Yeah, really.
Tom Peters agrees with me. I must be smarter than I think.
Don't let it get to your head.
No, I will never.
Sue, thank you very much.
Well, it was a pleasure being with you, and I miss you in person, but there we are.
Hopefully this ends soon. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see.
Yeah. Ça va bien aller.
Bonne soirée.
Bye-bye.
Salut.